Look at how I'm covered up before speaking. That is how bad this whole thing is. At least, let me be able to raise my voice in front of Sam George, man to man. Then we come to a mutual understanding.
The recent visit of US Vice President Kamala Harris to Ghana has resurrected the conversations about the LGBTQ plus community and conversations around same-sex rights or marriages in Ghana. In this episode of Sayitloud, we have a face-to-face with someone who identifies as gay. And for the purposes of this interview, we'll not go by his actual name. We'll call him Q. Q, so why are you gay?
I'm gay because I've always been gay. Just like you can't explain why you are heterosexual, so can't I explain. It's a feeling from within. You just know you're attracted to someone. Natural or being artificial, you just know that, hey, to your best of knowledge or ability, you find someone attractive. That's as simple as it is.
So I take it that being gay is just out of how you feel, not your anatomy?
I don't see how anatomy has to do with this. It's humans as we are. I mean, can you explain? Or will you tell me that you are heterosexual because society wants you to be heterosexual? No. That is how you feel. You feel attracted to the opposite. And I feel attracted to the same. Let's give it a typical example. We are twins. We are identical twins as that. Your favorite is Fufu. You can't say the fact that we are identical twins or just that we are twins. So despite the fact that you have Fufu as your favorite, I'm compelled to have Fufu as my favorite as well. No, we have our individual differences. So in a nutshell, me personally, I would say I can't explain. I've always been gay since I grew up. I've always found myself in one situation or the other as a kid, whereby I lasted after the same sex.
Alright, so it has not mattered how your biology is to you?
Not at all. There's nothing about anatomy.
But how long have you known that you've been gay?
Okay, I would say from a very tender age, I've always been quite effeminate. In the sense of playing with girls and acting feminine and whatnot. But then I would say, knowing what the term being gay was, it was probably an insult from someone in high school. Yes, but then, even before that abbreviation or that word could come to me in a negative way, I knew that I was sexually attracted to people of the same sex. So why can you just get up and say that it's unnatural just because you feel different? I feel it's insulting, it's unethical, and it's disrespectful to say the least. Yeah.
So what's that experience? At what point, you mentioned senior high school, what point did you fully identify?
It's not like being identified. I've always known. Whoever knows me will say, oh, unless the person is not enlightened or the person is not well read enough to know what LGBTQ is. But if you lived in a society or in a community where I did, and you had a fair knowledge of who or a person who identifies as an LGBTQ plus person is, you would easily point me out that, oh, this person is obviously gay or lesbian or whatever. So yes, when it comes to society or where I grew up, I would say that doesn't have a scene who I am now. I've always been gay and I'll forever be gay as well.
You remember your first experience?
Yes, first experience was in high school. When it came to penetrative sex, it was in high school. I think I once told a friend that we are all born virgins. You know, and definitely you will not die a virgin. You will not die a virgin unless you choose to. But then at a point in time, you will lose your virginity growing up. And I did. And I lost my virginity to a man. Or a boy, or whatever, because it was in high school. But it wasn't like...
This was your mate?
Yeah, it was my mate. It wasn't as if I was inexperienced or I was naive. Okay, I was naive in respect to the penetrative side. But cuddling, oral sex and kissing and whatnot, I was familiar with it before I even went to high school. But then when it came to losing my virginity, I would say it was in high school.
And this was consensual?
It was consensual. I mean,
But you were how old at the time?
I was between the ages of 14 to 16.
And it was consensual?
Yeah, it was consensual. The thing is, I didn't know he was going to penetrate. If I knew, I would have been prepared more. Because I knew definitely I was going to lose my virginity. I was going to be penetrated, but I didn't know it was going to be that instant. But it so happened that it was that instant he broke my virginity. So hey, that's all.
Now we live in a society. I believe that you have siblings. You are from a family.
Yes, I'm from. I mean, no matter what, I'm from a home.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I do.
I guess you don't want to mention how many they are.
I have a few siblings.
Do they all know?
I would say, yeah, my two younger brothers. No, yeah, I have two young siblings. I have four, including me in general. So then, I have two male siblings who know and very open-minded about it.
And your parents?
My parents do know. My dad is actually having a problem because we had to talk about it. My mom is not really educated, so I don't think she's ever had a conversation with me with respect to why I'm gay. But then, fortunately on my part, some people don't have it that way. Yes, I've had parents who haven't sat me down to say this is evil or whatnot, which even doesn't make sense to me.
So you think that because they've not sat you down, it's an...
They don't have to sit me down to tell me it's evil. I mean, you don't have the right. I live my life, so do they live theirs. You know, they live theirs on their own terms, and so do I live mine. Eventually, even if it's evil or not, whatever they believe in, it's their own cup of tea. I have my troubles and my, you know, my fears and whatever to face alone. And
you say your dad does not speak to you about these things?
He does not speak to me. It's not like he does not speak to me with respect to as a person, like we're not talking terms. We speak as and when we want to, but my dad and I, personally, we don't have that relationship in respect to father-son. That is not because I identify as something or as I identify as an LGBTQ person. Not at all. We have our own personal things that we need to work on.
So it's beyond just the sexual preference.
That's the least of it. When it comes to being gay, I think my dad has been very loving. He's been very caring and he's been very supportive because he will not do it directly. But then, he's the one that gave birth to me. Blood is thicker than water. I'm his. He can never throw me away. It doesn't define who I am as a person, being LGBTQ. I think, yes, that's the first thing he considers. Because, yes, I do more than... I don't know how to put it, but
of course, he's still your father, you are his son.
It's not even about his son, but human as he is. Our LGBTQ plus knowledge of his doesn't count when it comes to me as a person. We just live. Yes.
Are you fully gay?
I would say that's a funny question because I've had girls at a point in time.
How many women have you tried?
A couple.
A couple?
A few women. Like I was saying, I have had this peculiar friend I always confide in when it comes to being open. I once told him that I find women physically attractive, but then emotionally retarded. That is not the reason why I am gay. That's even a proof to tell you that it's too much of a work for me. Just like you being heterosexual, but you don't see yourself being in a same-sex relationship. You don't hate men. You don't see yourself having sex with them. And it's not even emotional. It just doesn't make sense to you. To me, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Yes. It doesn't make sense. It's like you're forcing me to do something against my will. If I will do it. Leave me. Just leave me to live my life. It doesn't add any value to yours. So does what you do imply on mine. It doesn't add any value to my life.
Just because I'm still curious about this, you've tried women, you've tried men.
Yes.
So I still don't prefer women.
Of men to women.
You prefer?
I love the company of men. Definitely, I would not grow up. If I'm married, it would definitely be because of society or family.
So who would you marry, a man or a woman?
Let's typical example. If I'm to marry in Africa, it would definitely be a woman.
So what would happen to your sexual preference?
I will still do men, even in the absence of my wife, or even without in secrecy. I will still do men, which I don't think too fair is fair to anyone's daughter, you know. Because I've had instances where I've been with men, I've been with married men, a lot of married men, to be honest, a whole lot. married who have their wives thinking they're happy, they're in a happy home. But then, I know at the end of the day, when they pick their bags to leave work, they come to me before they go home. So, hey, I would not like to put your sister or anyone's sister to research. I would rather leave my truth.
What you say now gives me a confirmation of what many say. People say that the people of the LGBTQ plus community are very, I don't know how to call it, but just for want of better word, they are ashawo. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree.
Like you don't.
We are as promiscuous as the heterosexual community. Don't label us. It is not fair. You in the heterosexual community find yourself to be faithful to your wife. Some people like to have a polygamous marriage or whatever they call it. Some love to flirt around, married or not. It is, you have made it the norm because you believe that is right. So personally, when it comes to this whole illegal or legal thing, it's the mindset of what we are fed with, which I feel is not right.
So you don't think you are...
Even the typical example is humans as we are. If I'm sensible enough, I'm saying this on record. If I'm sensible or human enough, not any religious propaganda, if I'm sensible enough to accept you, my fellow human, for who you are, you like pussy or you want to do women, not because society claims or my religion claims it's right, but I don't hate you because you do women. I just see it. I don't even think about it. It is nothing to me. Or okay, I accept it. It's so difficult for you to accept mine.
Oh,
what is your problem?
So now we want
you think no? I'm trying to put a point across it. Do you think it's fair? I accept we are friends.
Okay.
You love fufu. What do you want to force me to love fufu? Eat yours, let me eat mine. At the end of the day, will you be buried with me? No. Christian, Muslim, traditionalist or not, have you seen two people being buried together in the same hole? No. It's gonna be one after the other, or each one for himself. So what is your problem? Why don't you just live? Live for yourself. Let the other person live for him or herself.
So the call is for...
There's been thousands of people, thousands of years, of millions of years before we came. Mm-hmm. And after you die, people will come before you. Religious or not, leave it. Just live your life. I'm living mine. Leave me alone.
All right, so I get to that. It's just being allowed to live your lives as it is. But there's also the concern about the society we live in.
Society.
Which is very indoctrinated.
That is the sickness they have.
Okay, you call it a sickness?
Yes.
Why would you call it a sickness?
Because I don't see this to be what? A problem. If they're seeing mine as a problem, they should find solution to it and cure themselves.
All right, so our society believes that the place of penetrative sex, like you've mentioned, is for a man and a woman. And we are talking about biological identifications of man and woman. Yeah. You describe that as sickness?
I said I don't see the heterosexual part of this whole thing, or our lives as a sickness. So why would you see mine as? And even if you think it's because of it boils down to biological or procreation, you will bear with me for the fact that it's not everyone that comes into this world that gives birth. No, people are barren, people are sterile, we have foreign fathers and whatnot. Just because they don't identify, I'm barren but I'm straight, so you're okay. I can't give birth but I'm straight, that's cool with you. I'm gay, I don't want kids, but I would love to raise kids. I can adapt and take care of them. Just like you giving birth. Or I can give birth but I don't choose to. Or I can give birth but I can use other means to give birth and still be with the same sex. That is your problem. I have to forcefully have a penetrative sex before I can be accepted in society with the opposite sex before I can be and give birth before I can be accepted in the society. That is wrong.
Okay, you're very vocal about how you feel about these things.
I have to be, because
but also,
this is Ghana. What is going on is like they are making already. We don't have a say when it comes to this whole thing. They've made it to the point whereby look at how I'm covered up before speaking. That is how bad this whole thing is. At least let me be able to raise my voice in front of some George, man to man, Then we come to a mutual understanding. But not whereby you have been able to make this thing so evil to the extent whereby someone could even just see you and do something against you.
Have you ever been attacked?
Attacked several times.
Tell me about them.
As long as there are homophobic people and you are in a society whereby you exhibit some traits, people will definitely come to you, come forward, and you make you feel how uncomfortable they are towards your kind.
You have experiences.
It's happened several times.
I want to hear one of those. Anyone that comes to mind readily.
With mine, I would say, I lived in a society where I lived in a community where it was like a Muslim community. So even just your pleasantries arose suspicions because they always termed guys who acted feminine as gays. So I was washing in my room at a point in time. My porch was opened, and this guy was so homophobic enough. He had looked at me for a couple of times going to work, and I greeted him and he would not respond. But then one weekend I was washing on my porch. Before I could realize, this guy just slammed the door, jammed on me, and I have pictures, and started assaulting me. It ended in the police station. I actually laid a complaint, and funny enough, the Ghana police was so supportive. Wherever I lived, whoever I spoke to, the district police, the prime officer, the CID, they were all, they were all. It wasn't like they were in support, but they were able to make the guy feel that what he did was wrong.
Okay, so the police acted on the violence.
Yes, attacking me all in the name of me being gay. He feels or he knows I did not come to urge you to have sex with me or to propose to you or to lure you. No. So you see, what what you feed people is what they live with. Yes. If you are fed with hate, if society feeds you or whoever feeds you with hate, that's what you also go by. Some people are not lucky enough to be enlightened or open-minded enough. So the masses, the few or the few who find it, sickening or whatever, can't hold it within, eventually channel it across in a violent way.
Do you think the proliferation of LGBTQ plus activities is a failure of society?
They are just wasting their time.
Is it a failure of
society? It's a failure. Because whether you proliferate it or not, it's happening. It's happening under your noses. We might not have banners or we might not have the zeal to host protests or whatever.
So just hold on for a bit. We would return right after this. The conversation is getting more heated and interesting. When we return, we'll look at the bill that's in Parliament as well. This is Sayitloud on GhanaWeb TV. So we're back. We're here with Q, who identifies as gay. Q, do you know about the bill that's before Parliament, the Anti-LGBT?
Oh, I honestly have heard, and I've not read thoroughly. I've not read through, because I didn't even find it necessary.
What have you heard about the bill?
That if it's passed, my kind will be jailed if suspected, even just suspected to be my kind.
If you allow me, I want to read something to you. This is what the bill actually says as its object. It says the object of the bill is to provide for proper human sexual rights and for Ghanaian family values, proscribe LGBTQ plus and related activities, proscribe propaganda of, advocacy for or promotion of LGBTQIA, PT plus and related activities, provide for the protection of and support for children, persons who are victims of or accused of LGBTQIA plus and related activities and other persons and related matters. You don't think this bill is healthy enough to be passed?
Please, they should put in the bill, I will suggest they put those who gossip, those who steal, pedophiles, married men who flirt around, those who insult, literally every social vice that they think whatever they think is a social vice should be added to the bill before it's passed.
So, but this bill says LGBT, anti-LGBT.
This is nonsense. What is your problem when it comes to LGBTQ? What have we done wrong? What sickness do we come with? It doesn't make sense for someone to sit down and then out of hate or personal malice or vendetta say that, hey, I don't like this faction of people, so they should be, whatever they do should be made illegal. They should be found culpable of the law. I mean, it's arrant nonsense. If you are jailing me because of my sexual preference, me being gay, what makes you think when I go to the jail I will quit, or when you jail me for 10 years and I come back then I become straight? What makes you think when I go to the jail, whatever that you think is happening, even when I'm free, it's not happening in the jail? I mean, how can it be so wicked that, let's say we are humans? I have not gone to sit down and found a sense in considering the fact that you being married and having a child with my sister in the house and still looking elsewhere and then sleeping with other women and coming back to my sister at the end of the day is something that I find you need to be jailed for. What is the sense in you making mine a criminal offense, if not just for hate or just for people to think that you are the most powerful? I mean, what you say is final.
What would happen to you if this bill is passed?
If I act effeminate and this bill is passed, then what I know, anyone anywhere can just take a phone, make a call to the security personnel, especially let's say the police, and say, oh, I find this guy suspicious of homosexual activity, so he or she should be picked up.
Would you continue to live in this country if that was the case?
No, I won't. I would rather die. I would rather kill myself than to live in a country where I am not comfortable enough to be who I am. Already, even before this bill is being passed, we face public scrutiny. I mean, we are already experiencing the homophobia each and every day of our lives. Workplaces, marketplaces, everywhere we find ourselves, in cars. I mean, we are the topic of discussion. It is not a problem. We are not asking anyone to legalize this in Ghana. At the end of the day, we are always going to be the minority. We don't have the numbers. We are not much, or we are not many enough to say we are hosting protests. We are not even allowed. Can we even be allowed to host protests and say that we are right? And what is going on in respect to Kamala Harris coming to Ghana, and that has triggered this whole thing? It's quite childish and petty.
Why would you say that?
Because if Kamala Harris were to be lesbian, she would have come with her lesbian partner. And I respect that. Because, yeah, that is her choice. She's heterosexual. So she came with her husband.
Let me take you back to the bill, because it's one of the concerns of the people who are pushing for this bill is that
Ella made a statement. She said, "What? Human rights." Let me land.
Please go ahead.
Human rights. So don't ever think that you pass this bill because of your sentiments and it will be accepted. Know that you are learned. I'm saying this directly to Sam George. You are learned. The book comes first. Human rights comes first. The law comes first. Your sentiment is under my foot.
So you think that Sam George and all the others,
they are being childish
just because of sentiments?
They are religious zealous.
They make this argument.
Even if I'm a Christian, and they should remember that the same Bible I used to worship, they use. And the same God that I worship is who they worship. And I know the God they worship is love. So if they can't love me for who I am, and they feel hating me is how to make their God make them prosper and to go to heaven, then Sam George and Co, shame on you.
There's this argument, okay? There's this concern also from the people who are pushing for this bill that a lot of the people who identify as LGBTQ live with HIV, and it is one of the ways that they are promoting, or will I say spreading, the disease. Is that the situation?
Political propaganda. Even if they bring numbers out, fair enough. I might be gay, but I'm not promiscuous. I might be gay, but I am HIV negative. So if someone is positive, there are several ways to count positive, to be positive when it comes to HIV. Do you understand? And even if I'm prone to be HIV positive because of my sexuality, I believe you as well are prone, just for the fact that you also have unprotected sex. It doesn't have to boil down for the fact that it is anal sex. Or what makes you think being LGBT boils down to having anal sex. Fine, we engage in it. But it is not what the ultimate we think we do as a couple or as LGBTQI plus people. No, that is not. It is just a part of it. And as far as I'm concerned, we might not have a cure to HIV, but as long as we have the antiretroviral drugs, that straight people, whether we are the masses, we are the one that have the numbers or not, as long as we've learned to live with malaria, and we have a cure for we don't have a cure for HIV, but then we are managing malaria as much as we think we have cures and we'll take it and we'll be fine, but eventually we'll still get malaria again. So will you live with HIV?
But is it true?
It is.
Is it true that a lot of people who identify as gay or LGBTQ actually live with HIV? Is it true?
It is, even if it's true.
No, is it true? Will you be able to answer that? Is it
so it is. Wait, before I answer, is that the reason why you are encouraging people to hate LGBT?
I'm asking a question.
LGBTQ plus.
Is it true? I just want to know, because if you ask me as a heterosexual person, I'll tell you what I know. But you live with your friends, your...
Wait, okay, I would answer, but before I answer, can HIV be cured?
Well, as at now, we don't have a cure, but I believe that scientists are on their way.
When the cure is found, are LGBTQ plus people going to be exempted from the cure? Or we are all going to be allowed access to the cure? It's a question. Please, before I answer, yes or no.
Well, I'm asking the questions here, so...
Yes, but yeah, we might have the upper hand when it comes to the population respect to the people who have HIV/AIDS in their community. Fair enough. But that aside, are heterosexual people also contracting the virus? Yes or no? Let's not boil down to the numbers.
Well, we're having an LGBTQ plus conversation. That's why this is looking like we're directing it. But we're having a conversation about LGBTQ plus.
I believe we have the numbers, but then we have straight people who are HIV positive, I presume.
Let's look at a way forward. What do you think should be done? We are a society that is, like I mentioned earlier, that actually subscribes to certain types of practices, cultures, and traditions. What do you want people to begin to do with how they treat people of your community?
You know, the way I see this world is different from how you see this entire world. Personally, when it comes to this whole illegalize this LGBTQ thing or whatever, I feel it is not necessary. Ask me why. Each and every day, we live. You live your life, I live mine. There are several social vices going on under our noses that needs to be addressed.
You continue to mention social vices, and I want to just be clear about this.
I don't know how this...
Is it because there are social vices that there is a need for...
Stop making LGBTQI or whatever a social vice, because it is not.
Do people say it is a social...
Yes, that is how Sam George and Co have made people to believe that aside you being straight, any other thing is evil. It has to be illegal, or it needs to be made illegal. That is how they have pointed, or they have painted us in particular. Which, I mean, Sam George shouldn't think, or he and his cohorts shouldn't think they don't have LGBTQI plus friends or family members. They do. But they are just not bold enough to come out and say, hey, you're my friend, and much as you hate us, but I know you and we relate. So they should not.
What do you think that should be, what do you want to be done for your community?
Yes.
What are you expecting?
Ghana might not legalize this whole LGBTQ thing, but we must learn to live with it like we are living with malaria. Yes. It will be with us forever and ever, from generation to generation, whether they like it or not. And even if you criminalize it, what makes you think I wouldn't still have sex? What makes you think out of fear, unless I'm caught? What makes you think the next child that's being born is not going to be gay? You are wasting your time. It's just like fighting apartheid. You are wasting your time. We might not get our freedom, but we will learn to live with it. Yes, so they should learn to live with us, just like we are learning to live with them. Life is simple. The principle of life, to me, is what? Live and let live. Just think about you as a human. Don't think about my sexual part and think it's what you can detect for me how I live my sexual life. No, I mean, like, it doesn't make sense to you. I don't wake up one day and then sit down and say, hey, Etsey is married to a woman, he's having vaginal sex and it's an offense. I hate it, so I should make it an offense. What do you mean? Is it my penis? Is it my vagina? Is it my anus? No, it is not. It is theirs. It adds no value to my life. Even if Etsey is gay and Etsey is having anal sex and Etsey is HIV positive, if Etsey dies, the best I can do is cry. It doesn't even have to boil down to because he died of HIV. No, it's a cycle of life. We will die, generations upon generations will come after us.
All right.
So what is your problem? And let me finish with this by saying, and this whole procreation thing. You know, what are you trying to say? You don't have an uncle who died without giving birth? You don't have an auntie who is barren or died without having kids? Did life stop from there? Or did the family name vanish? What is your problem? Live your life, let me live my life. Shame on you if I find yours acceptable and you don't find mine. And if you don't find mine acceptable, don't sit down and think what you feel is right should be right for everyone. No. Eat your jollof, let me eat my fufu. That is your favorite, this is mine.
All right. Thank you very much, Q, and thank you for agreeing to speak with us. We've had a conversation with Q, as we've chosen to call him for the purposes of this interview. This has been Sayitloud, GhanaWeb TV. You can go to www.ghanaweb.com for news and all other information that you need. My name is Etsey Atisu. Until another time, be safe.